Welcome back. You know how this goes. We're on part 6 of episode 74, and we're rolling along with the WrestleMania predictions. So
That
next
was
up,
weird. Did the show like power up?
yeah, I heard that in the background too, but I wasn't sure if it was just me or not. Hopefully
I
that
heard
came
it.
through the feed and everybody can hear that. It did quite sort of sound like when you beat somebody in Mega Man and steal their power or something like that.
Or Tony's getting into a Megazord.
Yeah.
Damn right, that'd be awesome. It's got to be the first one though, because that one lasted longer. Everybody else, well, we'll talk about that when we ever do a fanboys thing about Power Rangers. Tag team championship we have coming up with this part. Dolph Ziggler and Big E Langston in his first match as part of the active WWE roster instead of NXT. Face off against Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane. Situation with this match is the tag team titles. There was a rumor that they were going to have a Daniel Bryan and Kane match uh, either for the tag team titles or that they would drop beforehand. And apparently they decided instead to hold off on that. If the plan is still in place that they have a match between the two of them and they were holding off on this, then obviously that seems most likely to happen at Extreme Rules. And if that does happen, then by necessity, you kind of need Dolph Ziggler and Big E Langston to win the titles here. I'm not a huge fan of it if that happens for two main reasons. You know what? Three. Uh, Number one, and this is not in order of importance. Number one, I'm not a huge fan of people having a debut and winning a championship. And Big E Langston is somebody who I'm not actually very high on right now. Uh, I don't think that he is. I actually think that the most entertaining part of Big E Langston is his promos. And he's only really cut like two or three promos. But I don't think he's that impressive looking as far as his physique. I think he looks kind of odd, and they keep building him up as this huge, massive guy. Now, could he kick my ass? Oh, for goddamn sure he could. But at the same time, when you put him up against people like Kane and Ryback and all that, he looks awkward, and it's kind of like if you were to have, I guess, like Ezekiel Jackson but shorter, and he's bulky, yeah, and I would believe in him being able to steamroll through a lot of different people, but you put him up against somebody like Mark Henry or Big Show, two of the big staple super heavyweights that they've had, he doesn't look impressive at all.
He looks like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, so
You got
as
to
far as
consider those guys you named. They're part of the old guard. The new guard, it's sort of like when the '80s switched into the early '90s. The newer guys are much smaller than who we've had before. We don't have any new guys that are huge like that. I mean, I guess you have Brodus Clay, but he's not that big either.
He doesn't even look impressive standing next to like Ryback though. Like he just has this like really weird, like low sense of gravity. Like
He
this
has a
odd
weird
shape
body
to him.
shape, especially his
Yeah.
pecs. His pecs
Yeah.
are so weird.
Yeah, they
now.
look like blocks, don't they? Minecraft blocks.
His facial expressions don't really help his
Well, yeah,
look either.
he's got a kind of like a rat face a little bit with like that. It's his haircut draws a
Yes.
lot of attention to it too.
Hit
And,
Yeah, and that
blood.
doesn't
Yes.
help either.
Hit a
like
play.
he is an odd looking guy, and looks
Yes.
alone should not be why you win a championship or not. I mean, people have looked odd as hell, and they've gone to be very entertaining. I mean, we even talked about before with the superstar score segment for Mick Foley. You don't need to be a 6'8" super cut person to be a champion or anything. But I do think that Biggie Langston, he needs more going behind him before he's a champion. I think if he wins the title here with Dolph Ziggler, it's going to be a transitional reign. And that's point number two for me is the two of them, they win this title. There's no purpose for it at all. They're holding it until somebody else can win. And who the hell else could win it? We have no babyface tag teams right now that could challenge for it. Either they uh, kind of fuck around and throw two people together and give them the championship as they've done multiple times in the past with Air Boom and R Boom or whatever the hell you want to call the R Truth and Kofi
The
Kingston
boom
tag
and
team.
truth or whatever the fuck, yeah.
Yeah, so you
Two
either
guys
do
who like
something like
weed.
that, or you turn somebody from a heel to a baby face like Epico and Primo that nobody gives a shit about. They obviously are not big on the Usos, so I doubt that they'll be getting a shot at it. So I don't want to see Dolph Ziggler and Big E Langston win the titles for no reason. And at another,
I,
my third point with that is not only would they not win for no reason, but that halts Dolph Ziggler. And I think that he needs to go, preferably what I would like to see, and I'll touch upon this a lot more when it comes to the World Heavyweight Championship match.
mhm.
I'll give you a little spoiler here. I think Del Rio is retaining, and they're going to have a rematch at Extreme Rules, and I would love to see Del Rio retain at Extreme Rules as well, and then get cashed in on by Dolph Ziggler. I'm not a big fan of the Dolph Ziggler and Big E Langston pairing, period, let alone them as tag champions. And I really can't see them giving him the tag title and the World Heavyweight Championship. And they don't have that much longer to have something build properly. So I am really hoping that what we see here is Team Hell No retain the titles,
I think they
and
will.
and either they have a match still against each other at Extreme Rules, maybe bring in that whole I am the tag team champions thing again, and
You're just
vacate the
so
titles.
rare to see that, aren't you, Tony? You really want to see them have a match against each other to declare who is the tag team champions.
Because we'd never see that. It would be something different.
I think we need to get Dr. Shelby involved.
He could be the special guest referee.
I miss that guy.
That's what you do. You have
No,
have
Harold has a
anger
job
management
now.
an anger management match at Extreme Rules. Have him be the special guest referee. The winner becomes the tag team champion himself, and then maybe the next night on Raw drops it because he can't win a handicap match or something like that. But
I think that
that's
window closed a few months ago, man.
what's
Like,
that?
I think that window closed a few months ago.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of steam with their gimmick and their whole like interactions with each other. Like there's not as much comedy between them. They just feel like two guys that are holding the tag team titles now. I feel like they lost a lot of steam as a tag team. They were the most entertaining part of the show for months, and then they lost a lot of that. What I think is gonna happen is I I do see them retaining, even though I said that I feel like they lost a lot of their steam. They won't hold them much longer. And while Ziggler, Langston, and AJ, with them holding the belts and her being the manager, that does seem good on paper. Like it looks like it would work. But I feel like this is probably one of the more important matches on the card because I think that Team Hell No retains. Biggie Langston and AJ are upset with Ziggler. They tease a breakup. And then we have one of those scenarios where everybody thinks that Ziggler and Langston and AJ's group is split. And then after Del Rio beats Swagger later on, Langston comes out, hits Del Rio with that finisher he's been using every week. Ziggler comes down, cashes in Money in the Bank, wins the title. And it's one of those like, we tricked you, haha.
Hmm.
They're
Now,
not really splitting deals.
I'll
So.
agree with you 100% that they've lost a lot of steam, and that probably my scenario, uh, that they won't be doing that. Um, More than likely, what I expect to happen here is we just see new tag champions, and that they don't put much thought into it.
I think if they do it, as you said, it's going to hurt Ziggler in the long run. The only reason they would do it is just to give it a feather in Ziggler's cap of like, oh look, he's won another title. This is how awesome he is. This is how awesome I am. I'm going to
Or to
be a
be a
tag
double
champion.
champion.
Yeah, I'm going to be a dual champion eventually. And I think their focus needs to be on Ziggler and that world championship. It has to be. By involving him in this feud with Bryan and Kane, it's done nothing. And as you've said, it's a new pairing with him and Langston. Langston hasn't been tried and tested in the WWE roster. He's still pretty green. If you've seen his matches on Next,
Very
he's
true.
yeah, he's been very protective, and been the guy who sort of plowed over everybody. He has some interesting promos, but I don't think he's interesting enough to give him that sort of a push. I would have rather they had a team like the Primetime Players win the tag titles on a like Raw or SmackDown or something, and have Bryan and Kane feud. It would have been a lot better. AJ could have still been involved. She could have stirred the pot and allowed the two guys to just be at each other's throats. Um, in terms of the way this match is going to go, I feel that the Kane and Bryan are going to retain, or if they do lose, they'll end up losing by like DQ or something like that. Or if they end up losing the titles, Bryan's probably going to walk off on him, or Kane's going to walk off on Bryan, and it will be something that causes a dysfunctional breakup. But I don't see it happening. I still think these two are going to retain, and then something's going to end up happening later on, prior to Extreme Rules.
Peyton, what do you
Dolph,
think? Or Jester?
At the risk of I'll just keep going then. At the risk of turning away more of the anti TNA people here with this reference, I think what they might do with Ziggler and Langston is what Aries and Rude said they were going to do, and that's take control of all the titles. So I could see them first picking up the tag titles now, Ziggler getting his world title, and then Langston picking up the U.S. or Intercontinental title, and then having them maybe even have AJ get the women's title, and then there you go. That little group there has all the titles.
Don't see it.
yeah, I can't see them putting all the titles on two people. Like that doesn't seem like a very WWE thing to do. It's a TNA.
Yeah.
That's something TNA would do. It doesn't
Yeah,
seem like something a
definitely.
WWE
They,
would
they
do.
put all the titles on Kurt Angle at
I
one
was gonna say
Right.
they did it with Kurt Angle.
Yeah, they literally gave Kurt Angle every title.
No, I don't think that they would do the world titles involved, or maybe not even the Intercontinental in the U.S. I think that they would probably, if they're going to go that route, they're going to go with AJ as the Divas champ and Ziggler and Langston as the tag champs, and that's it.
That's believable. I can't see them putting everything on them though.
I
At
don't.
most,
Again, I
Ziggler,
don't.
if he does win the tag titles, he'll be like tag champion and world champion as like a dual champion at the same time.
Yeah, I could see him holding the belt and his briefcase and saying that when I do win the world title, I'll be a double champion
Mm-hmm.
type thing. But I just feel like there's no logic in him escaping WrestleMania without even attempting to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah.
And the only way he attempts to cash it in is if they lose the tag title match. So
And I think they are. I don't see Ziggler and Langston winning this match. It'll be a pretty good little tag team match. Something for the undercard. Bryan and Kane and Dolph get their own little WrestleMania spot. Biggie's just there because of opportunity and who he's involved with. But at the same time, I think this is just another easy title retain for Team Hell No. Sure, it'll go maybe 5-6 minutes. A little tag team thing going on. But in the end, I think Bryan and Kane are retaining here.
Yeah,
Here's a big factor between this. I will say for the record, I don't think that Ziggler's cashing in at WrestleMania. But here's a big factor that one of these two matches is going to be the opening match on the night. That's almost a guarantee. You're either going to have the tag title or you're going to have the World Heavyweight Championship be the opening match. It's not going to be Ryback and Mark Henry because they can't start off the pay-per-view with something that's going to be as slow and laboring as that.
You don't think Jericho could start off the show?
No, I don't think that they're going to.
Fandango?
I don't think that they're going to start off with Jericho and Fandango because I think that it's such an oddball kind of a match. It's
Yes.
clearly not going to be Triple H and Brock Lesnar or Undertaker Punk, and I mean, come on, it's not going to be Rock and Cena. But they can't go with the Brodus Clay match and all that because that's as we had
It's
mentioned before,
the
it's a
pillow
bathroom
match,
break.
yeah.
Bumper match. Yeah.
So it's either the tag title match or the World Heavyweight Championship match, and then I think the Fandango and Jericho match follows that. But if the World Heavyweight title match comes first, then there's a guarantee that he's not cashing in
right.
because they're not
Yeah.
going to have him cash in and then wrestle in the next
Yeah,
match
exactly.
as
And then
the
he's going to be
champion.
world heavyweight champion when he's challenging for the tag titles
Right.
later in the show. That makes absolutely no sense.
Right.
So,
Now,
What they would do if they did do the World Heavyweight Championship match first, like they have
which I
done the last
hope
couple
I'm
of
hoping
WrestleManias,
they don't.
then he could still attempt to cash in and something could just stop him from doing it, and then he would compete in the tag title match later. He doesn't necessarily have to win, but I don't see a scenario where he doesn't even try to cash in the briefcase at WrestleMania. Like if it's the opening match, he'll try to cash it in and something will stop him, whether that be Ricardo or Coulter and Swagger because they want another shot at Del Rio or whatever. I don't see him winning because he won't go into the tag title match as the world champion. But I still think he tries to cash it in just because there's no reason to not attempt to cash in the briefcase.
I'm just
at
hoping
WrestleMania.
that the world title match isn't the
It's
opener
not
this year
first.
at
I
all.
agree.
Because
That should be the tag title match. That's a perfect match to open the show with. Tag title matches are always good show openers.
Right.
Like,
and if I were booking, if you gave me this card and said you can't change anything around, but you could just kind of go with what makes the most sense out of what this is, then I would go with the tag team title match. If not only because you need to have certain matches afterward because of either buffer or more important. But they also have the chance to mention that Daniel Bryan lost in the opening match of WrestleMania last year, and they could play off that whole thing. Maybe this match is going to be another 18-second victory for the team against Daniel Bryan, and I mean that's a way to to kick off the pay-per-view with a match that should, at the very least, be entertaining enough that
It'll get the crowd invested into the show and not end in 18 seconds.
yeah, and that it won't give them the ability to not build up from there, because you can't have what we've seen before where you get a really good, amazing match at the beginning of the pay-per-view and then it falls flat for the next 4 matches. So I think that this is right in that happy medium. And if I were to guess, I would guess that this definitely ends up being the opener.
It's the best we can hope for us. I really don't want the world title to open the third WrestleMania in a row.
Now
Really,
the world title very much could, and that could be because of that whole situation with the cars that they want to do in the entrance, and they might need to set up for that. But I do think that they probably would have enough time to set up between showing the Hall of Fame or something like that instead. So
Yeah,
Well,
I
let's
really
think
feel
what they
like
want to do with cars.
what I've been hearing is that Jack Swagger is going to come out with some kind of like a Mack truck or something,
Yeah.
and that they might have another car entrance for Del Rio as well.
Well, why couldn't they do something like they did WrestleMania 22, where they just had the ramp come up,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
the vehicle pull out from underneath that?
Yeah, I mean they very well could be doing that. I haven't seen the set other than the ring, so either they have that as the first match because they have that tendency to put the World Heavyweight Championship first, and that they need to have some kind of a thing with the cars, or it's a non-factor and they have the tag team title match first.
I think the reason they did the world title matches, the first matches in past pay-per-views, is to do the whole surprise, like, oh man, we're opening with the world championship. But I think that like lackluster is gone, and also like you always want to have the matches that people are looking forward to like later in the show, because you want to open with other stuff.
it keeps
And
people
then, like,
invested.
yeah, I'm actually looking forward to Del Rio Swagger. Their feud has probably been the most interesting, besides Jericho Fandango, as far as like storylines have gone into this pay-per-view. And I feel like that match should be later. It shouldn't be if they open with that. I don't have to care about like half the pay-per-view now. Like, so I don't see why.
That has the makings to be a really good match too, with who's
Does.
involved. So
Yeah, they're both
it
very
should-
good in the ring. Like character-wise, but in the ring, they're both awesome. So,
All right, around the horn, Jester, who do you think's going to win?
Team Hell No.
Burhan,
Team Hell No.
Braden.
Team Hell No.
I'm gonna go with Dolph Ziggler and Biggie Langston. And Peyton, what are you going to be doing during this match, other than watching it?
I'm probably going to be sitting on my hands. I'm not really going to have a reaction either way.
Are you going to be doing that because it's going to be butt fucking freezing out?
No, I mean it's actually not going to be that cold for the weather reports I'm looking at.
Is it
Oh,
an
really?
outdoor
Has it changed?
WrestleMania?
Yeah,
It is an outdoor WrestleMania.
Oh, nice.
And
24 was
we're-
actually really cool with the outdoor WrestleMania thing. I liked it a lot.
Well, you know what? When we had it down to what I had checked 2 weeks ago, or whatever, and it had a 60% chance of rain, and that it was going to be 30 degrees with a high of 41 degrees.
It's changed so much since then, dude.
Thank God, because apparently one of the things that the very first thing that they listed that we're not allowed to bring into the outdoor arena is an umbrella. Which is like, what the fuck?
You gotta wear. Oh man, so Tony, you were really scared about pulling out that mango poncho, pretty much.
The mango poncho.
Yeah.
I should market it.
Yeah, but no, right now it's like 20% chance of precipitation, and the weather is calling for like the mid 50s during the day, and then it'll probably drop into like the high 30s at night.
Oh, all right, that's a hell of a lot better then.
They'll also have a tarp over the ring, like during the matches and stuff, like in case it does rain. So, like, the wrestlers themselves will be fine. You'll probably get soaked if it does rain, but the wrestlers will be fine. The ring will be fine.
So that concludes our talk about the tag team championship. The next part is part 7, and we're going to talk a little Ryback and Mark Henry.